Frank, you ready to go early?
Oh, I guess so.
Well, Rob Fraboni didn't pick up, and he's scheduled to be on the show. And John Byers didn't pick up, so you know what? Show got to go on, right?
It's got to go on. Do I get the whole hour?
Well, you can. They can call me on the cell phone if they want to interrupt. How's that?
Well, can is the operative word. I have no idea if I can, but let's give it a shot.
Now, that's a nice movie poster on The Most Dangerous Game.
Which one are you looking at?
The Most Dangerous Game, the green one?
Well, there's a lot of movie I haven't got them in front of me.
Okay.
It's the one that has a big picture of the villain, Count Zaroff.
I don't know. It's just got a green poster.
Oh, well, no, I haven't got it in front of me, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. I thought you knew everything about all movies.
How many times do I have to prove that every week to you, Joe, that that's not the case?
Well, what's the date when you're scheduled to be here? June?
I'm shooting for June 26th.
June 26th. Now, hopefully we'll have our brand new studio on Swanton Street, just a half a mile away. End of June, we very well could. And if not, we might be in here. But you'll be somewhere on TV.
All right, well, that's very good.
We just don't know, because June is our moving month.
Okay. Well, if there's any chance, let me know ahead of time, because I'm making a special trip. I'll have to be in north of Pittsburgh the week before, and then I'm coming up to see you.
Cool.
With a new book in tow.
Oh, the new book will be out, huh?
Unless something goes wrong, it's going to be out. I think I'm looking at the movie poster now. It's like a photographic negative with, what, 3 or 4 people's faces? Or no, 2 people's faces, Fay Ray and Joel McRae in it. Is that what you were talking about?
Probably. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. I'm on the air live.
Okay. Well, you're a brave man. Oh, all right. So, well, I guess we'll get down to tomorrow night's movie, and then we'll see what we can do to fill in time until some other guests call in, huh?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, The Most Dangerous Game, released in September 1932, almost 6 months to the day before King Kong, and that is not a coincidence because this was one of the movies that made King Kong possible. King Kong was going to be so expensive to produce by 1932, 33 standards that they looked for ways to offset the cost, and one of them was to try to film a sister film to it.
Oh.
Almost at the same time. In fact, maybe some of the scenes are at the same time. So it's the same producer and director, a lot of the same productions team.
This is a sister film to King Kong?
It is, well, it is not, it hasn't got a giant ape in it.
Right.
It is made by, the brains behind it is a man who is well known in the genre cult, but whose name is probably being forgotten outside, and that's Merian C. Cooper.
I remember the name.
Who was the father of King Kong. And you'll get debates on that, but if I get in those debates, I'll be able to win for him. And he had the idea for the giant ape film, and he was wondering how to do it and all that. In fact, getting up money, and one of the ways they offset it is they used a lot of the sets in King Kong for The Most Dangerous Game. They used a lot of the same cast: Fay Ray, who played the screaming heroine in King Kong, and Robert Armstrong, who played Carl Denham in King Kong, and Noble Johnson and Steve Clementi, who played the native witch doctor and the native chief in King Kong. And also James Flavelin, who was a first mate in both movies, were in both movies. And if you watch King Kong and you watch this movie back to back, you'll see some of the same jungle sets. And the most amusing one is when they filmed King Kong, they made there's a scene where King Kong has to cross a riff, and like a break in the mountains, so there's this deep gorge between them, and it looks as wide and as awesome as can be. But when they film it in this movie, they use the real size of it, which is only like a foot. So for the careful viewer, you can get some treats on that. A lot of the musical score is suggestive that they were both scored by the same guy. So this was one of the ways they kept the cost of King Kong down, was by defraying some of the costs to The Most Dangerous Games.
Ah.
You build a set, you charge it to one movie, use it in another movie, keep the costs down. So, and King Kong was probably only made because Cooper was a high-power driving man, and he had a kindred spirit in David O. Selznick, both of them are at RKO in the early 1930s, so they worked together well. And Most Dangerous Game came out, and the special effects for King Kong kept it in production a lot longer, so that came out 6 months later.
So Dangerous Game was actually the first movie.
Dangerous Game was certainly the first one released. It was probably not the first one conceived, but because it had very little, it's not a special effects movie. There's a couple of camera effects that you probably won't notice the first time you watch it. So it was once the live action was done, the movie was done. It just had to be cut and scored. When King Kong was done, they had to weave it all in with the special effects, the animation, stop motion animation. So that's why King Kong was in production a lot longer. So this one came out first, and I think the Most Dangerous Game was a very popular short story. This is back in the age when short fiction writers were well known, and there was a lot of short stories. I'd be hard pressed to name a short fiction writer now, and so the Most Dangerous Game was a very famous story. Original title might have been Hounds of Zaroff, because the British title of the movie was Hounds of Zaroff. So
was it cannibalism?
No. The Most Dangerous Game is you'll find this early in the movie, so I won't be giving away too much. Count Zaroff lives on his remote island, which is the recipient of a lot of shipwrecked people, and he basically stocks his game preserve with him, and the most dangerous game is he hunts man. And so the movie ends with what is really one of the classic chase scenes in 1930s when Zaroff is after his human prey. And I shouldn't say more than that because I'll give it away to people who haven't seen it. Incidentally, this is the best movie that's going to be on anywhere tomorrow night, and this is an excellent movie.
Wow!
And it's a classic action. It's a horror. I guess you'd call it a horror adventure film. It's not a horror film, but the horror cult, the horror genre people really adopted it because of its close kinship to King Kong, and Count Zaroff is a mad doctor, except instead of being into science, he's into hunting. So
and you get Fay Wray.
And you get Fay Wray, so who is in her prime right now.
Does she get eaten by the Count Zaroff or the animals?
Excuse me?
Does she get hunted?
She yes, but as Count Zaroff tells us, you do not kill the female of the species. So so he's got other designs on her, and you can guess what they are. And that's why she goes out and joins the hunt, because she'd rather be hunted in the forest than hunted by him in the bedroom. So she's out there in the jungles with them.
When the hunter gets captured by the game.
I won't give away anymore, but
that's Martha and the Vandellas. That's
okay. Well, you're always pulling these music analogies on.
When the hunter gets captured by the game, great. They should have used it in the movie.
I don't even know if when was Martha Vandella born?
She was probably born around 38, 39, 40. But
okay, well, she's not born yet, so they couldn't use her songs because she's not around to sing them.
She didn't record it until the 60s, but that's okay.
That's okay. Okay. One man I want to point out in this, and he plays a Cossack in this, named Ivan, and he's kind of a sinister figure. And it's played by an actor named Noble Johnson, who was a black man, and he was a film pioneer. And he for years he had his own studio making what they used to call race films, and these were films designed for black audiences, and they'd play in the South, or they'd play in black neighborhoods of big cities. And there were these. Not so much now, but there were these parallel universes in the 1930s. You had Yiddish films. You had ethnic films, like there was a lot of Spanish language production going on, and there were films for black audiences. And Noble Johnson was really a pioneer in that. He would star in them, he would write them, he'd direct them, and he basically had to give up his studio because it was very hard to make ends meet. And his career as a character actor in Hollywood kept getting better, so he just had no choice financially but to leave one behind and go to the other. And he was a black man, but he had very sharp features. So with a little pancake makeup, he could play a Caucasian. In this case, he plays a Cossack. He does play the native chief in King Kong and Son of Kong, but then he's back in another film made by Marion Cooper a year later, She, 2 years later, She as I don't know what ethnic group he is. They're a group of people.
Now, a movie like She, is that H. Rider Haggard?
Yeah, it's H. Rider Haggard.
So that was remade with Catherine Deneuve, right?
Well, Ursula Andress made a version.
Ursula Andress, thank you.
Yeah, made it in the 1967, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I was around 13, 14 when that came out. I went and saw it at the theater. That was very frightening to a child.
Yeah. So this was the She that Marion. These are all films by Marion Cooper.
I wonder if we can play She.
I doubt that. Yeah, I was shocked to see that Most Dangerous Game was in the public domain. I was, I would have thought that was locked up along with Kong and Son of Kong and all that. I don't know if you can play She. I doubt it's in the public domain, but my ability to predict such things is pretty limited, as I've proven over the years. And so Noble Johnson, he could with the right makeup, he could play almost any ethnic he wanted to, which was rare for a black actor. So he was for a while, I think he was the only member, black man in the Screen Actors Guild. Screen Actors Guild was pretty much all white until the 60s. And he plays an Egyptian, he plays a Nubian, I should say, in The Mummy with Boris Karloff. He plays a half-wit of undetermined ethnic group with Bela Lugosi in Murders in the Rue Morgue. And he's the only actor that is in all of Marion C. Cooper's horror adventures of the 1930s. And that's this movie, Most Dangerous Game.
Fascinating.
Son of Kong and She. He was still around when they made their last horror adventure. When I say they, that's Marion, who was the producer, and Ernest Schoedsack. I always mispronounce his name, and always will. I've given up on trying to correct. But they were kind of a team. Cooper was the hard-driving producer. Schoedsack was the more easygoing director, and they made a handful of movies together. They were well known before this for documentaries. And in case your audience, and a movie like Most Dangerous Game, an adventure story in the jungles, is something that was right up their alley. They had made documentaries during the 1920s, one called Grass, which is about the migrations in Persia, which doesn't sound very exciting, but it really is. And one called Chang that took place in Indochina, Indonesia, about elephants and tigers, and a few others. And they were well known for that. And when Cooper became a power at RKO, everyone was expecting a turn towards that kind of a movie, and no one at all was expecting King Kong, a giant ape movie. And there had been well, you showed it about 2 years ago. I think you showed The Lost World, which was stop motion animation, and the animator in both movies, the chief animator, because these are large teams, but the chief animator in both movies and the brains behind the animation was a man named Willis O'Brien. And until King Kong came along, Lost World was his masterpiece, but then King Kong obviously became his masterpiece.
Interesting.
The two principal characters in the movie are not played by actors in King Kong. Joel McCrea was mainly known for westerns, and would be known for westerns his whole career. Though when you his most famous movies, his non-westerns, come to the top of the list. Most Dangerous Game is one of them. He had a classic comedy in the 40s called Sullivan's Travels, and he had a Hitchcock movie, Foreign
Sullivan's Travels. Sorry. Hitchcock title again is?
Foreign Correspondent.
Okay. Now, Sullivan's Travels, is that like a takeoff on Gulliver's Travels?
No, that's a, God, it's been 40 years since I've seen the movie. But it's a roving report. It's kind of, if you've seen It Happened One Night, it's close to that, as I recall. But I don't want to talk too much about it because I haven't seen it.
Okay, that's all right. But I got a question about Dangerous Game now. Both King Kong and Dangerous Game, did they shoot on sound stages or did they actually go on location somewhere?
No, there's no... Hollywood at this period doesn't like location shooting. They consider it a big risk and a big expense. And there were some films made during the 1920s, most notably Ben-Hur, which was a big hit. But by the time it was done, the box office, the expenses were just through the roof because of the location. These were all made on sound stages. I can't name any off the top of my head, but my guess is you can count on both hands the movies you've heard of during the 1930s that were shot anywhere but Hollywood or locations within a day's drive of Hollywood.
But King Kong had a wonderfully atmospheric study of, you felt like you were in the Congo.
Yes. And you were actually on Catalina Island. Certainly, Son of Kong was when they hit the beach. In both movies, in King Kong and Son of Kong, when they hit the beach, they're on Catalina.
And where's Catalina?
I've never been to Catalina, so if anybody wants to correct me, go ahead. But Catalina has a lot of fog, as islands off the coast of continents usually do, and that could wreak havoc with filming, but it could also give you some really neat effects.
Now, this is off the coast of California, I imagine.
Yeah. Joe, I'm gonna sing a song. I'm gonna show you that I know something about music, Joe. You don't know the song Catalina?
No.
26 miles across the sea, Santa Catalina, waiting for me. Santa Catalina, the island of romance. Romance, romance. Let's dance.
All right, I remember it. Got it.
Okay. Well, because of that song, about 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when those parlor trivia games was in, I got a question which I would have had no idea except Santa Catalina. And I answered all the Santa Catalina questions all because of that song. So, but that was, I don't know when it was a hit, but I remember it from my earliest years. So I think
you got to be careful of that now. My brother in school many years ago was asked a question, where does it never rain? And he says Southern California because of the Albert Hammond song. And I said to him, but it never rains in California, it pours. He goes, oh, I didn't think of that. So, yeah, it never rains in Southern California, it pours. Man, it pours.
You do have to be careful because there was a movie called Krakatoa East of Java.
I remember it.
Oh, Krakatoa is actually west of Java. So why they did that, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's east if you go in the wrong direction for all the way around the world. But that's true of every place on Earth. But, Krakatoa is only a few miles west of Java, so why make the 25,000-mile trip when you can do it for like 5 or 6 miles?
They like the ring of Krakatoa east of Java.
It does have a ring. It
flowed. Hey, this is cool stuff. We got you expected on June 26th.
Okay.
Any other tidbits on the most dangerous game?
Yeah, well, the Count Zaroff, who is the character you hear most about, is played by an actor called Leslie Banks. And all these 1930 films creak a bit with age, and because if they were successful, the plot, you see where the plot's going, because it's been redone so many times. And if it's not successful, then that speaks to itself. But this was his first sound film, and I was surprised when I read that, because he gives an odd performance, but he gives a very good one, I think. And, you can't say that for a lot of actors in the 30s giving in their first sound film. And it's only his second film. He made a film in 1921, which I imagine is lost. I've never seen it and don't expect to. It's an obscure movie. And then 12 years later, he makes this one. And he's quite good in it. And why they hired, an unknown actor from England who didn't make a lot of movies in Hollywood. And this is his first one he's made in 12 years, but he pulls it off. One thing to know about him, there is an important part of the plot is a scar that Count Zaroff has on his left temple that may account for his madness. And actually, Leslie Banks was scarred in World War I, and so badly that it kind of ruined his career as a leading man. By our standards, he's very short for a leading man, but not in those days. Those days, those actors tended to be short. And but he would play roles and basically put his scarred, I don't mean hideously scarred, but enough so that you wouldn't make him a romantic lead. But he would not cover that up in movies. He would display it, and he'd use it as part of his parts. And I imagine, I'm pretty sure this that we see on his temple is makeup. But I'm not.
Hold on, Frank. Hey, Rob, can I call you? I'll call you right back. All right, thanks. Bye.
Okay, it sounds like the first team is in.
Sorry, people, to do that to you, but that's Rob Fraboni. I want to just end by saying Louis Jourdan in Octopussy starts chasing man in that great chase scene. Remember it?
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about the one in the plane?
Oh, no, in the forest, in the jungle.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if they just nicked a little of the most dangerous game for Octopussy.
I don't know.
Maybe Live and Let Die, too, because in every James Bond movie he gets hunted. But that's a story for another day.
Okay, Joe.
Hey, thank you very much, Frank.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
Talk soon. Bye.